Good evening. It was one of the worst days in the modern history of one of the great cities in the world. In Sydney, Australia, one man, now dead, held 17 innocent people in a storefront standoff from day into night before it ended in flashbang grenades and gunfire, and not all of the innocents got out alive. It is where we begin our coverage tonight with NBC's Sarah James in Sydney, Australia. Sarah, good evening.
Sydney is in shock. No one believes something like this could happen here, Brian, with 2 hostages dead and others injured. I'm standing just a few hundred yards from the cafe where it all began, and that is now a crime scene. Many questions remain today. Police say this is an active investigation.
They're in.
After more than 16 hours, the siege ended in violence. Heavily armed police stormed the cafe using what appeared to be stun grenades after hearing gunfire inside. As paramedics raced to the scene, stretchers ready.
They made the call because they believed that at that time, if they didn't enter, there would have been many more lives lost.
It all began during morning rush hour. At 9:45, police are called to the Lindt Chocolate Cafe in downtown Sydney, the busy heart of the business district in Australia's biggest city. 17 hostages inside. They're forced to hold up a flag showing the Islamic Declaration of Faith written in Arabic. One after another, hostages stand in the window at gunpoint, some for hours. Others later post the gunman's demands on social media. He wants an ISIS flag and to talk to the Australian Prime Minister. As the news spreads, air traffic over Sydney is diverted. There are evacuations. The Sydney Opera House, the U.S. Consulate, which issues an emergency warning to Americans. And directly across from the cafe, the Channel 7 newsroom, where a police sniper takes up a position.
We saw some chilling scenes as the gunman forced these hostages up against the glass window.
The gunman is spotted through the window, later identified as Iranian-born Manharan Manis, a self-styled radical sheikh with a history of trouble with the law, who is on bail facing charges of accessory for the murder of his ex-wife. 6 hours into the crisis, 3 hostages somehow escape. At 9 p.m., the cafe lights go out. The police don night vision goggles. Then at 2:08 in the morning, the hostages suddenly run for their lives. Police storm the building. In the shooting, the gunman is killed. So are 2 hostages, a man and woman, both in their 30s. Bloodshed to end a nightmare. Sarah James, NBC News, Sydney.
This is Richard Engel. We've heard the term before, a lone wolf, a terrorist who strikes out on his own. In Sydney, it was a Muslim extremist with a loose grip on reality and a long rap sheet, a self-promoter who craved media attention. It's people like him, loners, outcasts with delusions of glory and revenge, who are most susceptible to the propaganda posted by groups like ISIS.
They're saying you don't need to travel to Syria to be effective, to be a warrior for us. You can take the fight to the citizens in your own country.
In the West, deadly incidents are happening with alarming regularity. In Canada, in October, a gunman who shot soldiers in Parliament was inspired by ISIS. Days later, in New York, a man whose social media profile was full of ISIS propaganda attacked police with a hatchet. And the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston, inspired to kill Americans by a radical Islamic ideology.
People are worried we're going to see these kind of lone wolf attacks in the United States. But we already are seeing them.
We've seen them. We've seen what happened in Boston. You can go back even to Fort Hood. So we've seen it in the United States. And certainly the potential for violence here is great because of the amount of weapons available on the street.
The U.S. has seen lone wolves before, and experts say we'll see more of them.
2 new studies indicate that around 30 to 40% of these lone wolf attackers are deranged and have some form of mental illness. So I think the term lone wolf is somewhat more romantic than it needs to be for these individuals.
Richard Engel concluding our coverage after a bad day in Australia.
Good evening. If you're just joining us, we have breaking news to report right now out of the Kingstown area in Alexandria. We understand that Van Dorn Street is blocked right now by overturned cars, and reports are still coming in from police, but apparently I'm being told it is a zombie attack. Yes, zombie attack in Alexandria. Specifically, we're talking around the Van Dorn Street area. We're told that officers are on their way right now to take you to safety. So again, please take all precautions, stay inside, and keep it right here for the very latest on this zombie attack. We want to take you back to breaking news in Kingstown in Alexandria. Right now, police are on the scene of a confirmed zombie attack. We're told that this zombie attack is in the area of the Edison High School, Hayfield High School, the Kingstown Town Center area near the movie theater.